All right, everybody, welcome back. Get ready, because today we're diving deep into something really cool.
Oh, yeah?
Yeah. We're looking at some highlighted excerpts from a biology textbook.
Nice. Always love a good textbook.
I know, right? And this one's got some fascinating stuff.
Well, let's get to it then.
Okay, so looking at these highlights, it seems like you're really focused on the nitty-gritty of, cell processes.
Uh,
Which makes sense. They are the building blocks of life, after all.
they are, yeah. Like, it all starts at that super tiny level.
Totally. And there's a ton of highlighting around cell division, which, you know,
It's kind of essential.
exactly. But then something I noticed, you also marked the section specifically about meiosis.
Oh, yeah.
And I was curious what made that stand out to you.
Well, it's like you've got cell division, which is how, all cells make more cells.
Right.
Right? But meiosis, that's a special kind of cell division.
Okay.
And it's super important because it's how we get genetic diversity.
So explain that a bit more.
Sure. So, you and your siblings, you probably all look a little
All
different.
right.
Yeah. And that's because of meiosis. It's the process that shuffles up all the genetic information from your parents.
So it's like shuffling a deck of cards.
Yeah, exactly.
That's
Every
cool.
time a new cell is made through meiosis, it's like a new hand is dealt.
Wow, I never thought about it like that.
Yeah. And that diversity, that's what keeps the species going strong.
Yeah.
It's how we adapt to changes in the environment and fight off diseases.
That is super cool. Okay, so moving on to another big theme,
Okay?
energy flow through living systems now.
Ah, yes.
I gotta be honest, this one always kind of tripped me up in school.
Yeah, it can be a little tricky.
It just felt so abstract.
Well, think of it like money.
Okay,
Right. Like money is how we get the things we need right.
sure.
Well, for cells, energy is their currency.
Yeah.
They use it to do everything from building proteins to moving things around.
Okay, I'm listening.
And just like we've got dollars and euros and yen, cells have different forms of energy too.
That makes way more sense now. I like that a lot.
Glad I could help.
All right, so now I want to talk about something that really jumped out at me while I was looking through your highlights.
Okay.
There's this one sentence completely on its own talking about ubiquitination.
Ah, yes, ubiquitination.
What in the world is that?
Well, it might seem like a small thing, but it's actually really important for keeping cells healthy.
Yeah.
You see, cells are always making new proteins,
Right.
but sometimes those proteins get damaged or they're just not needed anymore.
So what happens to them?
That's where ubiquitination comes in. It's basically like sticking a little recycle tag onto those proteins.
Interesting.
Yeah, and that tag tells the cell's machinery, hey, it's time to break this protein down.
So it's like taking out the cellular trash.
Exactly. And you know what happens if the trash doesn't get taken out?
Things get messy.
Exactly. And in the case of cells, if this ubiquitination process goes wrong, it can lead to some serious problems.
Like what?
Well, for example, a buildup of all those misfolded proteins that's been linked to diseases like Alzheimer's and Parkinson's.
Wow. So this one tiny little process.
It has huge implications.
That's wild. Okay, well, looking at all these highlights together, it really hits home how intricate and balanced these biological systems are.
It really is amazing, isn't it?
It's mind-blowing. It makes you wonder how these systems deal with changes. What happens when things get disrupted?
That's a great question and something that scientists are always studying, like how do environmental factors or stress or even our own behaviors,
Right.
how does all that impact these finely tuned systems?
So much to think about. Well, folks, I think that wraps up our deep dive for today. We've covered a lot of ground, from cell division to energy flow to cellular recycling.
It's all connected.
It really is, and it's just a glimpse into the fascinating world of biology.
Absolutely. There's always more to explore. And the more we learn about these systems, the more we realize just how much we don't know.
So keep those questions coming, keep exploring, and we'll see you next time for another deep dive.
See you then.
Bye!